There's a liquid that costs less than $2 a bottle that can clean a completely carbon-coated oxygen sensor in under 15 minutes without ever removing it from your car. Not a $300 replacement, not a mechanic's bill, not a new sensor, just a cheap can of fluid you can grab on the way home from work tonight. And the reason you've never heard of it isn't because it doesn't work, it's because it works too well. Here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. The replacement oxygen sensor industry in North America alone is worth over $4 billion a year. $4 billion. That's not from broken sensors. That's not from cars going to the junkyard. That's from millions of perfectly functional sensors being thrown in the trash every single year because someone in a shop told the driver, "Yeah, it's bad. You'll need a new one. That'll be $350. They didn't hide this method because it failed. They hid it because it worked too well. A clean sensor lasts for years. A clean sensor doesn't generate a service ticket. A clean sensor doesn't keep the lights on at the dealership. So the entire industry quietly agreed, without ever needing to say it out loud, that cleaning the sensor isn't a real option. Replace it. Always replace it, because that's where the money is. Here's what's actually happening inside your engine. Your oxygen sensor sits in the exhaust stream, and its job is to measure how much oxygen is in the gas leaving the combustion chamber. That reading goes to your engine's computer, which uses it to balance the air-to-fuel ratio in real time. When the tip of that sensor gets coated in carbon, which happens to every single sensor in every single car eventually, the readings go wrong. The computer thinks the engine is running lean when it isn't. It dumps more fuel into the mix, your gas mileage tanks, your throttle goes sluggish, your idle gets rough, and eventually that extra unburned fuel starts cooking your catalytic converter, which is a $2,000 repair waiting to happen. But here's the part the industry doesn't want you to think about. Carbon isn't permanent. Carbon burns. At combustion temperatures, around 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit, carbon turns into CO2 and floats right out the tailpipe. So if you can introduce the right cleaner into the intake stream, let it burn through the cylinder, and pass over the sensor on its way out, the carbon doesn't just dissolve, it vaporizes. The sensor comes out the other side looking brand new. Now let's talk about what you're actually paying for when you buy a new oxygen sensor. The sensor itself, the ceramic element, the heater coil, the housing, costs about $8 to $12 to manufacture. That's it, 12 bucks. The same factory in Asia that makes the OEM part stamps Bosch on one box, Denso on another, NGK on a third, and a generic store brand on a fourth. Same sensor, different sticker, markups of 1,000% to 3,000%. The $400 you're paying isn't for the sensor. It's for the brand, the box, the dealership margin, the labor, and the unspoken understanding that you'll never know any better. You're paying for the assumption that the sensor was unfixable. Because if it were fixable, the entire pricing model collapses. Here's the method. There are actually two of them, and I'll show you both. The first one is the slow version. The second one is the version they really don't want you to know. Method 1, the fuel additive approach. This works if your sensor is only mildly dirty. You go to any auto parts store and buy a fuel system cleaner that says Oxygen Sensor Safe right on the bottle. Chevron Techron, Concentrate Plus, BG44K, Royal Purple Max Clean, Lucas Deep Clean, any of those. Pour the entire bottle into your gas tank when it's about a quarter full, then drive for 20 to 30 minutes, keeping your RPMs between 2,000 and 3,000. The cleaner circulates through combustion, burns off light deposits, and slowly works the carbon off the sensor. Takes a few tanks, works fine for maintenance. Method 2, the vacuum line method. This is the one that does in 15 minutes what the dealership wants you to believe is impossible. Here's exactly how it works. You'll need a can of intake valve cleaner that's labeled safe for oxygen sensors and catalytic converters. CRCGDII-VD intake valve cleaner is the gold standard. Costs about $8. You'll also need the straw and nozzle that comes with the can in about 15 minutes. Step 1. Pop your hood and find a small vacuum line running off your intake manifold. Pull it off carefully. Step 2. Take the straw from the spray can and insert it directly into the open vacuum hose. Then push the hose back onto the intake fitting so the straw is sealed inside, with just enough sticking out to attach the spray can to. Step 3. Start your engine and let it warm up to operating temperature. Once it's warm, Hold the RPM around 2000. This keeps the engine from stalling when you start introducing the cleaner. Step 4. With the engine running, attach the spray can to the straw and pump short bursts of cleaner into the vacuum line. About 30 seconds at a time, then pause, then repeat. Use about half the can total. Go slowly. Too much at once will stall the engine. Step 5. Rev the engine a few times after you're done spraying. The high heat from combustion burns the cleaner off and takes the loosened carbon with it, straight across the sensor tip on the way out the exhaust. Step 6. Shut the engine off and let it cool before touching anything. The exhaust components will be molten hot. That's it. 15 minutes, $2 in cleaner. No tools, no sensor removal, no mechanic. I've personally watched this work on a 2012 Toyota Camry that had a P0420 code, terrible gas mileage, and a sluggish throttle for 3 months. The owner was quoted $620 at a dealership for a new upstream sensor and labor. We did the vacuum cleaning method in his driveway. The before and after on that sensor, and I've shown this on the channel before, went from black, crusted, completely caked in carbon to bright, clean metal in a single session. We cleared the code with a $20 OBD2 scanner. The check engine light never came back on. He drove that car another 4 years before he sold it. This is documented in fleet maintenance records going back decades. Trucking companies, taxi fleets, delivery operations, they all use some version of this method because they ran the math and figured out that replacement is a scam at scale. Let's do the math on what this saves you. The average American car needs an oxygen sensor replacement somewhere between 60,000 and 100,000 miles. Most cars have between 2 and 4 sensors. Each one runs you somewhere between $250 and $500 installed. Over the lifetime of a single vehicle, you're looking at $1,500 to $3,000 in sensor replacements that in most cases never needed to happen. Multiply that across the 280 million vehicles on American roads. The number gets obscene. Billions of dollars every year transferred from regular drivers into an industry that figured out it could sell you a fix for a problem that was never broken in the first place. This is the part that gets me. Your grandfather knew this. Your dad's mechanic in 1985 knew this. The guy at the corner garage who used to work on his own cars in his driveway with a six-pack on the workbench, he knew this. This wasn't secret information. It was just regular knowledge that people had, the same way they knew how to change their own oil and rotate their own tires. And then somewhere along the way, the knowledge got buried, not because it was wrong, because it was inconvenient. Inconvenient to the dealerships, inconvenient to the parts manufacturers, inconvenient to a service economy that figured out it was more profitable to convince you that you couldn't fix anything yourself. You can. You always could.